What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, trying something today I've never done before, which is a re-review. I'm going to be taking a new deep dive look at No Man's Sky, and here's the thing, I didn't exactly hate this game at launch, but it was certainly very lackluster. It was something that had some really big aspirations and a lot of potential, but didn't seem to hold my attention for very long. However, since that time, in the 2 years since its initial release, they have done tons of big updates. Basically overhauling the complete game, adding in things like base building and extra vehicles you can drive around on land, but it still wasn't something that totally grabbed me. I've gone back several times over the years and actually checked this game out again and seen if it was something that would finally really get me invested in this universe, and it still didn't. However, I wanted to go in with an open mind and take a final, really hard look at this game because of the next update. This came out today and I've been playing it almost non-stop, and it's basically trying to make the game all the potential that it originally had, giving us full multiplayer where you can actually see other characters and doing stuff like actually warping around the galaxy even easier. I have to say that the initial impressions of this are very, very positive, because the thing is, it almost feels like a sequel, a No Man's Sky 2, to the point in which they've actually done a universal wipe. While your character is still progressed as much as he's always been and you kept your money, they've basically decided to restart a big chunk of the entire space landscape to make it where new players aren't going to feel totally lost when there's giant freaking bases built on every single moon. I do think that there is something that's bad about this though, which is that in all the changes they've made, it seems like they decided to restart a lot of the technology as well, introducing all new styles of crafting, and so a lot of the old stuff was automatically made obsolete. When I got into my ship, all of my gear that I'd spent hours constructing was completely useless. I mean, all I could do was deconstruct it and start over from scratch. While I was rich enough to buy more supplies, it was still a little bit sad to see all my progress being redone, and I still think that this was a weird choice, but understandable. Something else introduced in this patch that I think was probably a good move is that they've decided to restructure how gathering minerals works. Yes, it's true that you still just basically land on random planets and shoot things with your mining laser, but all the element names have been changed. There's now different stuff like, basically different minerals that would actually exist in the universe, instead of just breaking down every single plant into carbon, every single energy crystal into uranium. There's now a lot more different kinds of minerals, and so you're actually having to think very carefully when you're crafting each item. Even if you played this game a ton, you're going to have a big learning curve trying to jump back into this, which is what really kind of actually was alluring to me, is that I didn't want to jump back into this game and be completely lost because everybody else was so skilled, but having this way of sort of getting to wade back into the universe and everybody relearning the mechanics together is really cool, because there's definitely a big focus of this game on trying to be about community, basically setting it up where, hey, if you want to play this game, you're no longer just alone in the universe. There is tons of multiplayer aspects to this now, and the coolest thing is, as soon as you start the game, you basically choose whether you want to be in your own universe and have people find you, or jump into somebody else's universe, which is what I kept doing, where I would literally just appear in a random solar system with other players and be able to track them down. There would just be a beacon, I'd warp straight to them and be able to check out their bases, their vehicles, and their adventure. I could take part in it. And I have to say that while I do have some problems with this game that I'm going to get into here in a minute, I will say that I was genuinely smiling from ear to ear when I landed on my first moon and walked up to another player and was able to actually wave at them and have them wave back. Meeting somebody face to face for the first time in this game in 2 years was so freaking amazing. It really did almost move me, because this is something I'd been anticipating for so long. I mean, to finally have this makes it so amazing. But there is a big drawback to this, which is that it seems like the next update, for all the cool upgrades it's done, also seems quite unfinished. The biggest thing is that there are major optimization issues. I tested this out both on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and both consoles seem to have a lot of issues with frame rate actually sticking when you're trying to go back into orbit, and this is the worst thing of all. My game crashed hard 11 times in 6 hours. Yes, you heard me correctly, 11 times. My game completely crashed. Luckily, this never corrupted my save file or messed up my progress too much, but it definitely got to the point at which if I was teamed up with somebody and we were having fun and flying around and having good conversation, I would have to tell them specifically, hey, put me on your friends list because at any moment the game may crash and I'll never find you again. It's so frustrating that this game tries to pretend that it's so streamlined and refined, and it's really not. This is still the very raw experience we had at launch, just a lot more beautiful. This brings me to something else the patch did do that I think was pretty admirable, which is that they've clearly gone in and tinkered with a lot of the mechanics that automatically build this world. So every single planet is randomly generated through this procedural algorithm. Basically, as you're flying through, everything is kind of just made on the fly, and I think that they've gone in and actually worked on that program to make it where the algorithm is generating a lot more interesting planets. The life forms I ran across were not only cooler looking, but they also seem to have better behavior patterns, attack me more smartly, and things like grass and trees had a real logic to them for the first time. I mean, in the original game, especially back at launch, I would sometimes just see a tree that was upside down and just looked so stupid because I could not believe that something like this could truly evolve in the universe. But now everything here has a real rhyme and reason to it. It's nice to see trees and landscapes and things that are blowing in the wind that all look correct. And you sort of admire it even more when you're basically running for your life. Like at one point I landed on a planet where every 6 minutes it would rain acid for about 10 minutes, which made it where when I needed supplies to actually restock my boosters and get off this planet, I was running around in this acid rain getting melted basically, and I kept having to dodge between all these interesting animals that actually looked like they had evolved really thick skin to try and acclimate to this environment. It made it where I truly believed that every planet I landed on could exist. It was no longer that weird freaking problem where as you're flying along, every single planet would just be almost empty. This finally seems like things are lived on. Like if I am flying down on a planet that has really cool rings in orbit, and I'm really just marveling about this, it's cool to break into the atmosphere, touch down, get out, and see not just this gorgeous view in the sky, but all the things around me. It makes it where every part of this finally has an actual semblance of reality. I know that a lot of times when you're playing a space exploration game, it's about suspending your disbelief, but it really irked me in the original game that so much of the universe looked super fake and empty. It was just kind of boring. I do have to say that for all the great updates they've done to this game, I still think that it's not exactly for me. It seems like there is a very small target demographic for this game, which is people who just want to be able to find fun by wandering around. I like the fact that there is now a tighter mission structure, and I can actually pick up different objectives, and there's actually a really good story now. There is a real point to flying around and finding these giant atlas things. But now, I still feel like I wasn't able to keep myself interested. This entire universe is kind of hollow. You spend enormous amounts of time just touching down, picking up different minerals, combining them together to craft plating or warp coil fuel and stuff like that. And eventually, I got to a point where I just didn't want to fly around any longer because I felt like the cost of space travel was just too much. There were so many times where I just wanted to be able to go to that next star system and see that next great thing, but didn't want to spend tons and tons of hours scraping together raw minerals to make that journey. This is a game that's for people who enjoy crafting more than they enjoy combat. While it is cool to be able to fly around and be a space pirate and nuke stuff that's up in the universe, those moments just seem like they're spaced out too far between the general things that you're gonna have fun with down on the ground. Okay, so we've heard some good and some bad, but let's head back over the ratings board and put a new number on it. I am giving No Man's Sky next a 7.5 out of 10. This game keeps getting put on sale recently, and I feel like now is the time that it's probably a good period to jump on. I still don't think it's worth $40 or $20, but if somehow you can find it for $5 like I did, I certainly suggest that you jump on it, especially if you can have some friends with you, because being able to explore the galaxy and go on different adventures with your buddies, now that's something that is definitely worth the price tag. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Okay, I guess I'm probably going to fly to maybe just one more planet, see if there's some cool animals on it, and then I'll stop playing. Oh, hey, I was just playing a little bit of Grand Theft Auto on my Darth Vader PSP. Are you curious what I'm going to come out with next? Well, if you click this button, you'll be subscribed to be the first to know. Also, if you click over here and here, you can see my latest review and my latest top 10. I promise, it was super good. Or it was really bad, and I'm sure you can just make fun of me in the comments. Either way, it'll be a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching.